How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Conti and Nick. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. The first time they go offense, they take Jordan Love? They take Jordan Love!
Listen, Matisse Thybulle will lock up
Matisse
CP3.
Oh my God.
Chris Paul.
Oh my God.
Chris Paul, baby. Right, Will?
Nope, I totally disagree. Look. Welcome back to Conti and Nick, episode 58. I'm Will Nicholson. As always, I have with me Gino Conti. We're back in the Marshfield Community Media Studio. And Gino, how are we feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good. Thank you very much. How you doing today, Will?
I'm doing good. It's a little hot one out today, but we still make it happen.
It's hot out there. It's hot in here. We can't
exactly.
win. We can't win, man. We can't
no
win
matter
today.
what,
we
no
can't
matter
win. What I do.
I don't know the next lyric. I was gonna sing it. I forgot it.
Come on, Will.
I know. I'm awful.
Disappointment.
Yeah.
You know what? It's been a pleasure.
Cut the camera. Before we get started here, I just want to say thank you, everyone who's watching, and remember to follow us on Instagram, any social media, Twitter, TikTok, at Conti and Nick. We're all there. And, I guess we'll pretty much get started here. What do you want to start off with?
We got a
today?
bevy of topics to talk about
today. We
today.
got a lot.
And you know what? One thing that really came up on us really out of the blue, unexpected. Once again, this is the second week in a row. Here we are saying, oh, God, we got to add another topic because something big just happened.
Yep.
And, we'd be disgraced if we weren't talking about it. We didn't have any football planned for today, but now we do. Baker Mayfield's been traded to the Carolina Panthers. We were just talking about this a couple weeks ago. So I think we've said a lot of our piece in pretty much what we need to say. But let's address it. Let's go back to it. Will, how we feeling?
So, if you recall, I said a couple of episodes back when we talked about this, I said there was no way this was going to happen. I didn't think it was a possibility. Baker said he didn't want to play for the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers said they weren't interested in Baker. Robbie Anderson now has a little
Has
quote.
some explaining to do.
Yeah, he's got a quote surfacing where it's like, oh, how would you feel? And he was just like, no, about Baker coming. But I think, it is a good fit. And I said this too when we talked about it. It is a good fit because, Baker, he needs somewhere to play. And like we said, on his best days, he's a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. And, I think he fits in with a team who hasn't had that in a while, probably since 2015 with Cam Newton. We've gone from Sam Darnold and just a whole bunch of nonsense at quarterback. And now they have someone who I feel like is stable.
Cam Newton again.
Yeah, exactly. Cam Newton again. But now they have Baker Mayfield. He could get them to the playoffs. We forget how bad this division is in the NFC South.
I don't think they're as bad as you're making them out to be.
I think they're really bad because I don't think the Saints are that good. I don't have a lot of faith in the Saints. I feel like their cap has gotten them.
Get hurt?
Well, yeah, maybe with Jameis hurt, but still, I don't know. I'm still not sold on Jameis. I know he's your guy, but I think he makes too many mistakes. Atlanta's just going to be god awful this year. They're not going to be good.
We know as a given's not going to be
good.
But listen, when you got two good teams in the division, I'm sold on New Orleans because, listen, that defense didn't get any worse. Okay, then in fact, they actually added some people to that defense. And that offense, in my opinion, about remains the same. I mean, I'm a big Ian Book fan. I actually thought he was pretty underrated and would have been an interesting prospect. But he was thrown into the limelight on a Thursday night football game against one of the best defenses in the NFL led by Brian Flores. It's not fair. It's one of those you can't, really put that on him. And there was a point where Taysom Hill, who's a gadget player, was playing there full time. Trevor Siemian, and they still remained a respectable team that defeated Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a 9-0, one of my favorite games of all time. So
the low scoring games.
So listen, I never really addressed this with you because I never really understood where the New Orleans hate really came before. No, I would say hate.
It's not hate.
But that's what I'm saying. Like the New Orleans sleep, we should say.
Sure.
Sleep kind of came at this point, But I wanted to ask you about that because, like I said, if Jameis doesn't get hurt, man, this is a respectable team.
I don't think so.
This is a very respectable team.
I'm not sold on them. They have a new head coach now. Sean Payton's no longer there. Alvin Kamara has been pretty injury prone. I mean, he's had his ups and downs, but a lot of good ups. Christmas Day, never forget. I mean that sits with me a little bit for fantasy football. Yeah, Gino won the championship. It's a whole thing anyway. But no, I just really don't see the hype. I don't think their wide receiving core is that great. Michael Thomas has had problems. They kind of feel like, a little bit like the Raiders to me, before I feel like they're going to put it together this year, but last year, where there's like a whole lot going on. You don't really know how the structure is. I think they're a great organization. I think they were good for a very long time, but it's a rebuilding process. I think they can get good, but I don't think that Jameis is the answer at quarterback. And they just got Olave, right? In the draft. So I think Olave is going to be pretty good.
Well, Michael Thomas and Olave.
Yeah.
That's a
pretty Can Michael Thomas get on the field, though? That's like half the problem.
He will.
Think so?
He will.
All right.
Michael Thomas and Olave, that's solid, man.
It is.
That's a pretty solid duo.
I just think there's better teams out in the NFC.
I mean, what about that defense?
Defense is pretty stacked,
Defense is really
Cam Jordan's
good.
still kicking it.
Cam Jordan's still kicking it. They got Demario Davis, who
Yep.
has really aged like fine wine.
Marshawn Lattimore.
He was really good. Marshawn Lattimore is one of the best corners in the league. They got Tyrann Mathieu. They signed him for a really cheap deal. I mean, this is a good team, man. And let's not forget that this team now will be playing to their strengths, because this is the first time in God knows how long New Orleans has really been dubbed as a defensive team. And what did they do? They made an internal hire. They didn't bring in someone from outside. They brought in Dennis Allen. And let me tell you, so many teams, and we did reference this 9-0 victory earlier, but so many teams better be and best be looking at that film from that 9-0 game where Dennis Allen completely shut down that Tampa Bay game and Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense, because in my opinion, that was a masterclass and a masterpiece defensive outing. A lot of teams better be looking at that film, in my opinion.
Sure.
But kind of back to the Panthers here. We kind of got a little off topic. What do you think? So do you think Baker Mayfield will lead this team to the playoffs, Will?
Absolutely, yeah. I think they could for sure be a playoff team. It's in the possibility. Have a guy like Baker Mayfield. He's healthy. Hopefully Christian McCaffrey can stay healthy. You still have DJ Moore. You have Robbie Anderson. You got a lot of pieces there. Their defense is still pretty good. They got J.C. Horn. You always say the safety's name. I always forget.
Jeremy Chin.
Yes.
C.J. Henderson.
Yes,
Dante Jackson.
So they have a great secondary.
Brian Burns is a good
And
DM.
this is Conti saying they have a good secondary, who is a defensive backs coach. So I'm buying it, right? I'm sold on it. But
well, they have potential.
Sure.
They have potential.
Yeah.
I think C.J. Henderson can be great, but injuries and a little bit of inconsistency, inconsistencies because of injuries, have not really propelled him to the level I believe he can be. J.C. Horn, hopefully that's not the same case. Hopefully he can come back and be that really good player.
Yeah.
People say Dante Jackson's a fraud. I'm looking at you, Cam Tate, and I'm looking at you, Dom Hausberger. But guess what? Dante Jackson's a good player, or else they wouldn't have re-signed him. So
that's fair. I actually really like J.C. Horn. He was one of my favorite players in that 2021 draft.
Yes, 2021.
Yeah. I mean, he just feels like a pro. You know, his dad, Joe Horn, was a wide receiver for the Saints, actually, I believe. For
really good receiver for a while.
So, yeah, and he's just been around that his whole life. Went to, where was it, South Carolina?
Yep.
SC State. So, yeah, he did good. He did good there. He
He's
proved
a thumper,
himself.
too. A willing and really, really vicious tackler.
Yeah.
And a vicious thumper and a hitter
He's going to be a good pro. I feel like he has a bounce back year.
You know,
year.
And so a lot of people, for a little bit, were debating if J.C. Horn or Pat Surtain. And you know what? It was a surprise, a very relative surprise at first, if you remember when J.C. Horn was taken over Pat Surtain.
We thought it was going to be a QB.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be a QB, but not only that, they went for the second-rated corner, which we don't know. You know, Surtain's had a really great rookie year, but Horn could be just as good, if not better. So
yeah, but no. To kind of get back to the grand perspective of things, yeah, I have faith in Baker Mayfield. I think this is a good football team. I like Matt Rule as a coach. I feel like he's got a good identity as a team. And no, I do have a lot of faith in this Panthers team to make a push for the playoffs. My biggest concern is injuries, right? They got to stay healthy. Baker has to stay healthy. Christian McCaffrey has to stay on the field and be that, RB1 first option type of guy, the 1,000 guy he was a couple of years ago. So that's what it's mainly going to depend on in my books. But, people slept on Baker. They like to,
you and I both agreed on this.
Which is rare. So, I mean, I'm sticking with it. But, no, he's going to do good there. I really think he will, because we know what Baker is. Baker succeeds in the RPO and the play action where, it's run with a good running back and then get it out to your wide receivers on a play action. And Christian McCaffrey is very good at running routes too. So, I mean, it plays a lot to Baker's strength. I said way back in the episode, this would be a good fit. I don't see it happening because of all the, the external stuff. But now that, it's already happened, I'm like, okay, I saw the fit, didn't think it was going to happen, but we're in this reality now, so I can see how this can work.
Want to know what external thing really led Baker Mayfield to wanting to go to Carolina?
A man by the name of Deshaun Watson.
No, he got a chance to be a starter in the NFL.
Yeah, that helps.
That in its own right should propel you and really entice you to want to be on any team. I don't care who you are.
I'm kind of I'm not really surprised because Baker was not going to play for the Browns anymore.
Of course not.
No.
And you know what? Talking about external things, the complete and utter disrespect of the Cleveland Browns that they showed towards this man. You and I have said this, and you were the first one to say it, and I completely agree with you. Who in the world does Cleveland think they are? Here they are, they've had 20-plus years of just futility and mediocrity. Worse than mediocrity. That's a disservice to the word mediocrity at the quarterback position. And they finally get a good one. Not great. Josh Allen, obviously, in hindsight, would have been the better pick. But we've said it multiple times. His upside, Baker Mayfield's, is a Pro Bowler. So you finally get somebody who has that Pro Bowl caliber talent when the team is around him, and the team was around him. Don't get me wrong.
If you put, if you play for Baker's strength, you put the team around him. It's a Super Bowl contender, in my opinion. We were talking about the Browns that way.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Pretty close, in my opinion. And you can him. You get rid of him. You show him.
In my opinion, the worst trade of all time, by the way. Deshaun Watson's not going to see the field in the NFL again, and that's my prediction. I don't think he should. I don't think he will. So I think he's probably done for football, at least in the NFL, forever. So this will go down as one of the worst trades of all time.
4 first-rounders.
Yeah, for Cleveland. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to get it back because they knew the price and the risk of what they did, and they gave him a contract immediately.
Anyways.
Yeah.
And you know what? The worst part of it is, too, it's not even a matter of they're trading for a man the caliber of talent of Deshaun Watson. They're trading a man for a man the caliber of Deshaun Watson with what has been happening.
Exactly.
And with his personal life.
Exactly. And we don't get political on Conti and Nick. Me and Gino made that very clear a long time ago.
Yeah.
But,
that's not even politics.
No, exactly. But
politics.
it's a relevant thing that, he should not play in the league again, in my opinion.
So it is completely distasteful. With the history, I don't care. I don't care about Deshaun Watson's talent. The pure fact that the man has history and what is being alleged against him, you trade that for a guy who, it doesn't matter in his head. He says it all the time. I don't care who I go to. Whoever wants me is going to get that fire and desire because they took a chance on me. He's not selective as to where he goes. Wherever he goes, he's going to view them as the team that selected him and the team that wanted him and went out of their way to make him a priority. And for that, he's forever thankful and forever grateful. And for that, he's going to work his behind off. And that is a quality you so rarely see in the league nowadays because everyone wants this. The money. Everyone wants that. Nobody cares about
Baker's
loyalty.
not a flashy guy. He doesn't make these super big time plays like, other quarterbacks like, your Josh Allens, your Lamar Jacksons, just the super athletic guys, but he's a good football player. I mean, he makes the right reads most of the time. And, his arm, he played through an injury, and we said that's commendable. People knocked it on him. Oh, he played bad. Of course he played bad. He's injured.
I don't get how. Like, how?
Yeah.
If I'm just asking, I don't want to insult our fans here if you're watching on Marshfield Television, okay? I don't simply understand. Please someone explain to me why somebody can be injured, play through an injury, which exudes and exhibits toughness, by the way. That if more than anything, not a man's lack of talent, it exudes toughness. How is he viewed as a bad player? How is he viewed as having a down year or a downgraded year when he was hurt?
No, I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
To me, it doesn't make sense. And I'm not insulting anybody who feels that way. I'm genuinely asking, please explain to me.
No, I 100% understand.
Yeah. So.
But summarize this up pretty much. Baker's going to do well on the Panthers, I think.
I believe so, too.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have one heck of a year.
Yeah.
I think he's going to win the most improved player, or the comeback player.
Ooh, I like that.
Comeback player of the year.
That's not a bad pick.
Documented on Conti and Nick. Baker Mayfield will be your 2022-23 comeback player of the year.
I like it.
Book it.
Book it. That's the second book it we've had on this show. We had the Clippers last week, and
I
like it.
You standing by it?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm standing by it. I still think they're going to be good.
Okay. Until Paul George tears his ACL. Wait a minute, guys. Hold on. Whoa.
I said if they stayed healthy. Come on.
Hey, give me a break, would you? All right, well, so back to regularly scheduled programming. Tom Hausberger. Let's talk about Kevin Durant. Okay. I want to hear your thoughts about it, man, because Actually, the day after, so on Thursday of last week, the day after we filmed our first ever episode here in this studio, Kevin Durant requested a trade, and I was kind of kicking myself, and I'm sure you were too. I'm like, man, I really wish this was something that we would have gotten to speak about and gotten to really cover and go over. But luckily for us, nothing really has happened yet, so this is something that still remains very relevant and still remains very, cooler talk, water cooler talk, barbecue grill talk, a topic of discussion. So, Will, I want to know what you think. I want you to tell me where he's going to go, what he's going to go for, and how much that's going to shake up the league, and what are your thoughts about it?
Gotcha. So here's my thing. First of all, let's start with Kevin Durant. I'm only going to say this once, and I'm only going to talk about this once. Kevin Durant is one of the weakest superstars I've ever seen. And he's a phenomenal player, and it's just so sad to see him time after time, make these moves, and it's hard. Because I'm a big KD guy. I think he's, like I said, phenomenal player. But, I mean, you're not in a bad situation. You're in a situation that, one, you put yourself in. It's not that bad. Well, okay, in theory it's not that bad. But with Kyrie, doing, the stuff he does and being in the news.
I would argue with the name talent that they have on that roster, it's horrendous.
Oh, yeah.
In my opinion, with the talent and the expectations that they had, I'd say it's a horrendous situation.
This is one of the worst failures in NBA history, in my opinion. I mean, you have two guys who think that they were above it all and did all this, and I supported it. I thought they were going to be a good team. Talent. I didn't, but there was a year I thought they were going to win it all just because the league felt weak, but Giannis said no to that. So, no, I'm just so disappointed. And, to think after all of this has happened, he goes, you know what? I'm out of here. It's like, all right, Katie, the situation wasn't ideal, I guess you could say, but it's what you wanted. Fine. Where do you want to go? And he picks the 2-1 seeds in both conferences, the Miami
That's
Heat
something I was gonna say.
and the Phoenix Suns.
That's something I was going to say.
It's ridiculous. And also, both these teams, in my opinion, I don't know if they get better with KD. Here, let me explain that a little bit.
The starting five does.
Absolutely, the starting five does. But, I've said this before. Basketball in the playoffs, a lot about depth. We saw it with the Warriors. The teams who have great depth, they go far. Mm-hmm. And it's just the way it is.
I agree with you, just so you know. Okay. I wasn't arguing against it.
If Phoenix, there was a report that came out actually on our way driving here. It was that, here, you know what, I'll pull it up real quick because I think it's literally right here. To sum it up, it's pretty much KD, here it is. The Nets want the biggest trade ever for Kevin Durant. Woj reports Brooklyn is looking into multi-team deals for KD that could land one of the biggest trade returns ever. So, who's going to do this, right? Like, the teams that he wants to go to, it's hard. If you're the Phoenix Suns, think about what you're going to have to give up. I think you have to give up Devin Booker. I think that's going to have to happen. No. You don't think so?
That whole point is to team up KD and Book. They would never do that.
Maybe team up KD and Chris Paul, though? Because who would they move? DeAndre Ayton?
Yes.
Okay, but they haven't signed DeAndre Ayton yet, so it'd have to be like a sign and trade type deal.
So and then obviously there would be probably 3 or 4 teams that get involved and get around. So definitely a lot of moving pieces.
We'll say in theory.
I highly doubt that if and when Kevin Durant gets dealed, it will be just a 2-team trade. Like if I'm the Suns and you're Brooklyn, it'll just be me and you. John Bro will be right here, and he'll be the Denver. He'll be the Denver Nuggets, and Jamal Murray will be going here, and then Thomas DeLaury will be right there, the Boston Celtics, and Grant Williams will go here. Yeah. So I just got misdirected real quick. I'm like, here I go.
No, so I'll say it. All right. So let's say in theory, right? Yes. DeAndre Ayton has to go. Yes. Sure. But still, it's not going to be just DeAndre. It's going to have to be like DeAndre Ayton, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder,
probably Cameron Payne.
Yes, probably Cameron Payne.
Mikal Bridges.
Yeah, and like first round pick. And you're going to go, oh, that's a lot. Think about what we just talked about, the biggest deal ever. And honestly, I'd argue that's not enough. KD is so talented, man. So talented. It's undisputable. He cannot be guarded one-on-one. I actually love to make the argument that he's the best one-on-one player of all time. I think it's impossible to block his shot, and I think that his length does so much, good for him, the way he's able to get his shot off. So I think he's one of the best one-on-one players of all time. Gino obviously doesn't look like he agrees with that, but you could make the argument.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Sure. I'll give you Kareem.
That's all I need.
But you can make the argument that KD's one of the best.
You can argue. Okay.
Sure.
I thought you were saying he is the best, the cream of the crop, the pinnacle at the top of the mountain.
You could make the argument, for sure.
I misunderstood. I'm sorry.
So he's going to need, a lot in return. And he's a great player. And the Nets say, okay, We don't have to do anything. We can just make KD play here. He's on a big contract. He can just stay here. I mean, do we even see Kevin Durant play the first couple of games? I mean, this.
Do you think it'll be a James Harden situation?
I think it could
when
be.
When he was at the tail end of his career in Houston? Do you think it will be more so like that?
I think it absolutely could be. I mean, we're seeing it's that level of just massive, where it's going to take time, a massive return where it's going to be a team to finally pull the trigger and go, okay, our entire future, put all the chips on the table, you're all in on Kevin Durant. That's what it is. I don't think the Miami Heat can make a deal happen. I'm not going to lie. I think Phoenix is more likely.
I think Miami could.
I think it's tough, and I think the Miami deal is worse than the Phoenix deal.
If you're Miami, you'd have to get rid of Kyle Lowry.
Yep,
Bam.
Probably Bam. Yeah,
no, definitely Bam.
Yep.
Because then you'd have Jimmy Butler,
Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson.
Tyler Hero,
and that's
Duncan
like your
Robinson.
whole team.
I know. Yeah, I know. And it really is tragic. No, that's a little dramatic, but it really is sad. But I mean, there's a price to pay for Jimmy Butler and Kevin Durant. And Felger and Maz brought up a good point. Those two teams, or those two, mindsets and play styles on court really do kind of gel. Do you know what I mean? Because Jimmy Butler is like the fast, like the aggressive, the aggressor, the one who gets all up in your face. And KD's just the guy that
KD thinks he is.
Yeah, KD thinks he is. Okay, but he has security guards when people come after him. But anyways, he's more just like the I just want the ball. I just want a ball type of guy. And, Jimmy Butler will take all the heat, no pun intended. Jimmy Butler will take all the heat, and Kevin Durant will just be like, hey, guys. Just playing
He's
ball
a more
here.
talented Draymond Green, where Draymond loves to do that. He loves to bring all the attention to him. So Steph and Clay, you forget about him.
Yeah.
Because everyone just wants to, don't let Draymond score.
So let me present one thing to you, Will, and I want you to see what I think, or how you feel about this. I said this about a week back, the day of this happening. If you're the Brooklyn Nets, when you got Kevin Durant, when you got Kyrie Irving, and then eventually when you got James Harden, I don't think there was any secret in this universe as to what the goal was when you build a super mega team like that. Win a championship, get one of these. Get a ring, right? You
can do it without Golden State.
You failed to do that with 3 first ballot Hall of Famers. In my opinion, you absolutely failed to do that with 3 first ballot Hall of Famers on your team. If I'm looking at this, nobody that you get in return is going to be better than the players that you already had on your team that failed to win a championship. If I'm the Brooklyn Nets, if I can help it, I don't want a single player in return. And I want to trade bigger than what happened, ironically, in 2013 with the Boston Celtics and the Brooklyn Nets. I want a more massive, probably a trade like that on steroids, essentially. That's what I want. And I'm
for
not
KD?
For Kevin Durant, and
Okay.
I'm not joking. I'm not joking. Once again, I'll repeat myself. Nobody that you get in return is going to be better than the players that you already had on your team. Realistically, it is so hard. I hate Kyrie Irving. It's so hard to be better than him talent-wise.
Oh, yeah.
And there's only
Kyrie is such a tragedy. Really.
He is.
He is so talented. It's such a travesty to see what happens with Kyrie because, he's one of the most talented point guards ever, I think. He's got the handle. He's got the shot. His vision is underrated. But it's just everything outside of that doesn't make him good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He just makes too much noise off the court, and I completely agree with you. Listen, obviously, I'm not the whole thing I'm not for the shut up and dribble. Everyone should have a voice. People should be allowed to say what you want to say.
Absolutely.
That's the foundation of the country. But when you make noise that negatively affects your team and those who you share a locker room with and share flight tickets with and a plane with every single day, then that's a problem. And that's what Kyrie Irving does. I want to hear your reaction, Will, about what I said about what I believe the Brooklyn Nets should do in means of a return for Kevin Durant.
Just get a massive trade on steroids?
All picks.
Yeah.
All picks and no players.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, no. So,
but
what do you feel like? If you're the general manager of the Nets and you get a trade like that, do you hit accept? Or do you want players in return?
I think you want players in return simply
Why?
because you need players to play Conti. You need players to play the game. I mean, if you're Kevin Durant, you might as well get something in return. I think it should be a lot of picks, though. I was talking about Cam Johnson, all those guys. But if you're the Nets, I mean, I feel like you could still make some noise. But I think the Nets need to hit eject on every player they have. Ben Simmons, gone. Kyrie Irving, gone. Kevin Durant, gone. And this is a very different opinion that I had from last week, if you remember. I said that they should just stay put and they should see what happens. Well, now we know. Now we know what's going to happen. It's time to hit eject. It's time to send off Ben Simmons. It's time to send Kyrie to LA. And I talked about this last week, I believe, a little bit for Anthony Davis. I think that's a great trade, and they move Russell Westbrook somewhere else. And you just gotta move all these pieces. You gotta get Ben Simmons to anywhere. Who cares? But Ben Simmons, I mean, is he gonna play in the NBA again?
He will.
Are we sure?
He will. I
hope he does.
I'm not a fan of him, but I think he'll play next season.
Okay, I hope so.
Yeah, and you know what? So, but let me kind of bring this. Let me bring this idea onto you, Will.
Okay.
So Kevin Durant is the guy that you get all the picks for, because you definitely know. I mean, it's a virtual guarantee that once KD goes, Kyrie is gonna go. Kevin Durant is the guy you get the picks for. Kyrie Irving is the guy you get the players for. And obviously, Kevin Durant is a little bit better than Kyrie Irving. That's not really a debate.
No.
But Kyrie Irving, you can still get some very, very valuable compensation for in terms of on-court players, in my opinion. It looks like, so we'll kind of segue into this after this last point.
Okay.
You're going to get Russell Westbrook for it. Russell Westbrook and Ben Simmons obviously sounds like an absolute poisonous duo.
It does.
But that's still big name brand, and that's still some reputable names that at least some, low level prove it guys would want to be on that team. What do you think? Let KD be the picks. Let Russ be the. Let Kyrie be the players guy.
I don't mind that idea. It feels unrealistic to me. I'll say that. But I mean, in theory, yeah, I think that could be a good move.
Maybe throw Yabusele in there.
Sure. Believe it or not, I don't hate Russ and Ben Simmons as much as a lot of people do. Because, like I said, I think Ben Simmons is talented. I think Russ is talented. Do I think this team competes for a championship? No, absolutely not.
Russ and Ben Simmons?
Oh,
of course not.
No.
Of course not. But like I said...
Do I think that they're a top 5 seed in the East? Nah.
No, absolutely
not. Do I think that they can make the 7 seed and win a play-in and then lose in 5 to, the Bucks?
No.
Yeah, I think they could. I think they could be a 7 seed.
If KD and Kyrie are an 8 seed, Russ and Ben Simmons aren't making the playoffs.
I don't know. Maybe a 9 seed, maybe make the play-in. I don't know.
They'll miss the playoffs entirely.
You think so?
Again, if KD and Kyrie are an 8 seed, we do know that I do love Russ, and I don't like Ben Simmons the persona, but I like him on the floor. Those two, if KD and Kyrie can only make the 8th seed and have to play in the play-in, Russ and Ben Simmons aren't making the playoffs.
That's fair.
Entirely.
That's a fair assessment. I'll give you that.
Entirely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we do know the dumpster fire that happened in Brooklyn, but that's my take.
Sure.
So kind of just to segue in now as we kind of continue talking about Brooklyn, it seems that Kyrie for Russell Westbrook trade is imminent. It really, in my opinion, it really ticks me off to see that the Los Angeles Lakers as a franchise have done everything wrong, and they're still somehow going to get Kyrie Irving. It's
just like
to play with Anthony Davis and LeBron James.
Oh my god,
it's maddening. It really is maddening.
You see, they want KD too. They want to try and make that happen.
I saw that they tried to make. Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen
because they would give up
AD.
Yeah, they'd give up AD and then probably Ben Simmons too. And I'm just like, dude,
please no. Please don't.
It's awful. It's so bad. But they want Seth Curry apparently too.
Steph.
No, Seth.
Oh, Seth.
In the Brooklyn trade, they want to get Seth too.
No,
but what? Come on, you're already asking for KD and Kyrie, and no, you know what? We hold all the leverage. Sorry, give us Seth. You hold no leverage. You hold none.
None whatsoever, my friend. So, what do you think about this imminent Kyrie for Russell Westbrook trade?
Well, first of all, you get a lot better if you're the Lakers, in my opinion, because I think LA is one of the teams that didn't require a vaccine. So, Kyrie is going to be able to play. And I think now that, we get it closer to the end of 2022 and 2023, this is probably a thing of the past now with the vaccine and everything like that. It feels like it's very much on the downhill, knock on wood. So, hopefully. But, I hope that didn't mess anything up. It's fine. But
brother.
I lost where I was at. No, so it's a thing of the past. I think Kyrie, hopefully, in theory, plays at least 60 games in Los Angeles if he goes there. He's where he wants. I mean, he's gonna sell all his voodoo magic stuff there, and God, I hate him so much. But, I think that this works the best for the Lakers. It doesn't work very well for Brooklyn. I mean, you can talk about a rebuild, but what other option do you have? I mean, do you just not let Kyrie play? I mean, I don't know.
You
what
have
do
to
you
trade
think?
Kyrie.
Yeah.
You absolutely have to trade Kyrie. And, I kind of wanted this to just be like a little quick, like 5-minute thing.
Sure.
So I personally think that, yes, this trade is imminent. And like I said off the bat, Lakers did everything wrong as a franchise, and they're still going to have Kyrie, LeBron, and Anthony Davis. But you know what? It seems like no matter where Kyrie Irving goes, for some reason, immediately when he gets there, the people in the media just forget his off-the-court persona. They forget his, problems that he brings to externally to a franchise. And everyone's like, they're winning it all. They're winning it all. Who's to say that Kyrie Irving isn't going to make a fuss in L.A., and he's not going to play there, and then something bad will happen where, all of a sudden there's an issue, and then you end up with LeBron, and I believe AD will stay healthy again this year.
I don't.
You don't think so? I think AD will stay healthy this year.
I hope he does. Did you see what Kevin Garnett said on, I forget what show he was on.
He's grinding.
Yeah, well, Kevin Garnett said he is too talented to be where he is at right now.
I saw that.
Way too talented. I agree with him. I hope he stays healthy, but continue.
I think that I'm not going to say he's going to return to MVP form, but with that being said, if Anthony Davis does play healthy in a full 82-game season, then yes, he will.
Okay.
He will, absolutely. He'll return to that MVP level form. So the Lakers, the X factor is Anthony Davis because LeBron isn't going to fall off. As much as I do not like LeBron, he's not going to fall off. He's still going to be a great player. He's still going to be one of the best players in the league, but still. The X factor on that team is Anthony Davis. Kyrie Irving is unreliable. And not only that, but we've seen LeBron and Kyrie. They won a championship, but towards the end, it really veered off.
Can I bring up Felger and Maz real quick? Because this is something you talked about.
You don't have to ask me. It's your show, too.
Well, no, this is something that you talked about on Felger and Maz. You know, Gino calls into Felger and Maz quite frequently. I mean, less frequently now, but... Still
a hot minute.
Still a good amount. He used to call in. And this was something you talked about when Kyrie and Katie first went to Brooklyn. You said if I were an organization, or if specifically the Boston Celtics, if Kyrie stays, you get KD. And you said, no, I don't want to have to deal with that locker room. And they laughed at you back then, Gino. And I'm going to give you credit where credit's due. I mean, if you're an organization, you don't want Katie and Kyrie right now. It's way too much. So I commend you on that, but that is something you talked about a couple of years back.
And you know what? There is something that they do say sometimes where it's like you're telling me that the second you saw Kevin Durant in a Celtics uniform, you would fall in love with him. And it's fair. It's fair.
Yeah.
It's fair. Because
and I probably would.
Because who doesn't love that talent? Like when you have such a talented player like that on the court, why wouldn't you love him? But at the same time, like, again, sorry, but, who does want to deal with the locker room? And now look at the reason they're disbanding. It's not because KD is... Well, he does have injury history. Okay? It's not because of that. It's not because of he's going to be 35 and they're worried about a decline. It's because of the locker room.
Yeah.
I mean, clear as day, it's because of the locker room.
KD doesn't like to admit it. He's kind of a sensitive guy. He cares a lot about what the media says and the media thinks of him.
Careful, he'll make a Conti and Nick burner account.
I know, he will.
Yeah.
No, we saw this way back. I mean, when people talked about Russ, remember that press conference? He was like, he's an idiot, you know what I mean? And, Katie thought, I'll be the villain. I'll do what's right for me. And he pretended like he didn't care what people said in Golden State. He cared big time.
Of course he did.
It hurt him. We saw with the burners. And then he cares what the media thinks. Because when we're like, Katie's going to win one by himself, he won't be able to win with the Warriors. He goes, I'm going to go to Brooklyn and I'm going to make this organization great. And I'm going to do this. And he goes there and then he fails and he doesn't really like what the media is saying. And now they're talking about, is Katie this? Is Katie that? Because he didn't perform. And now he's like, let me go to a team and win. And now he's posting, the media's giving him trash again, and he's posting, like, if you know me, I've been doing this. It's like, all right, Kevin, I don't know you, right?
We've never met. What you've been doing, Kevin, but it's not winning championships.
I really hope to meet you one day, Kevin Durant. I'm sure you're a fantastic guy, but yeah, I think you're a sensitive dude. From what I see on the outside, you're a guy who, doesn't like being talked negatively in the media. And there are players out there who don't care, right?
Well, want to know
Jimmy Butler doesn't
know something
care.
About Kevin Durant, you, me, like the three of us, me, you, and Kevin Durant?
Yes.
We all bleed.
It's true.
We all bleed. Nothing special about him.
Yeah. Was not, but like there's guys who don't care about the media. You know what I mean? Yeah, and there's guys who pretend they don't care about the media. Like Ben Simmons, I feel like is kind of the same way. Sure, but D Rose doesn't care about the media. I'm convinced he does not care.
He just wants the ball.
He just wants the ball. Jimmy Butler doesn't care about the media. You know, there's people out there who really, really don't care. I don't think Jaylen Brown cares about the media, which I love about him because the media still loves him. Which you know, he's a very smart dude. He deserves that. But no, so if you're Kevin Durant, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to look at a guy like Kevin Durant who thinks he's redeeming himself because that's what he thinks he's doing.
He failed. He failed at that. Yeah. And he's going to fail wherever he goes next, too. Yeah. Unless it's Golden State. Right?
Oh,
Which is, I don't know if
very unlikely. I did.
Yeah, very unlikely.
Yeah.
Good Lord. All right.
That'd be sad.
Let's stop. Okay. So kind of
had to go on my KD.
No, you're good, of course. So kind of moving on a little bit here. These two things kind of coexist with one another. The Utah Jazz, Will Nicholson, if you didn't see, which I'm sure you did, and I know you did, they were able to disload Rudy Gobert for Patrick Beverley, Malik Beasley, 4 first-rounders, technically 5 because of their first-round pick, Minnesota's first-round pick, so technically and essentially 5 first-rounders for 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert. I want to know, first of all, let's go into the Jazz perspective. Danny Ainge, we do know, got hired as a basketball operations consultant in Utah. What did they ruin in Utah, man? What's going on there?
What did they ruin in Utah?
What are they brewing?
Oh, I was like... No. I mean, first of all, Danny.
Trader Danny's back at it.
Oh, my God. Danny, what a fleece. Are you kidding me? For Rudy Gobert, who has been god-awful in the playoffs, you get that in return? What is KD going to go for? I mean, he just shook the market.
He's like the Christian Kirk of the NBA.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
Were you actually?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, shakes the market. It's Christian Kirk gets paid, and now, like, Debo's like, whoa, wait a minute. Now I want money. And the Niners are like, But no, I mean, round of applause to Danny Ainge. I mean, seriously, great job. You got so much in return. I mean, this was a great trade for Utah. You got a lot of pieces back. You freed up a ton of cap space, which is very underrated. They're going to be a big free agency player next year when a lot of their expiring contracts go. They're going to have a lot of money, and they're going to be able to get someone great next to Donovan Mitchell. But I think, this makes this team better, in my opinion. I mean, obviously you lose, Rudy Gobert, who I give him a lot of flack.
3-time defensive player.
Exactly. He deserves that at least. I don't think he's good in the playoffs. I think he gets picked on in pick and rolls, and it's hard for him to be a perimeter defender, but still.
But let's keep in mind, let's just switch to football real quick. When Aaron Donald and J.J. Watt get it, Will Nicholson,
Well, I think it's different. Those are good players, you know what I mean?
So isn't Rudy Gobert. He's not a good player?
He's a good player, but, he's not one of the best ever. Like, Aaron Donald's one of the best defensive players
ever.
Rudy Gobert? No.
You're a 3-time defensive player of the year. You're one of the best defensive players ever.
I disagree.
You don't think can you name 19 guys better than him on defense?
Probably. Give me some time. I could probably do it. Mm-hmm. We got like Scottie Pippen.
We won't see this list next week.
Okay. I'm going to come with it next week and surprise you. Maybe not 19 guys, but I can name a couple of guys who are better than him.
So out of the millions of players, hundreds of thousands of players that have played, you're telling me you can maybe name 19 guys better than him? Out of every single player to ever play in the league, you can maybe name 19 guys.
We gotta
better.
Talk about his
that
weaknesses.
Makes him an all-time great.
Well,
defender.
we gotta talk about his weaknesses. He gets exposed in the playoffs in the half court when you pick on him in the pick and roll. Teams literally just go at him. They get a guard on him. He can't guard anything.
Fine.
He's good at blocking shots. I'll give him that. But also we gotta put this into perspective. This trade makes no sense for Minnesota, in my opinion. What Cat plays the 4 now? I feel like that ruins your spacing, in my opinion.
So this is a better version, in my opinion, of what the Indiana Pacers were doing a few years back when they had Sabonis at the 4 and Miles Turner at the 5. This is a better version than that. And let me be clear, Twin Towers can work in the NBA. They can work, because what would have happened, I'm being serious, if Thon Maker panned out? And then I'm being serious. I knew you were going to laugh, and that's why I tried to say I'm being serious. But what would have happened? What would have happened if Thon Maker panned out?
Yeah.
And then you had Giannis at the 4 and Thon Maker at the 5.
That's fair. I'm not saying that it can't work, but I feel like you need to have a specific skill set. I mean, shooting's important in the league as much as
I agree.
Yeah, so it worked in 2020 with Anthony Davis, and I don't even remember who played center for them. It was like Marcus Hall. No, that was the year after.
DeMarcus Cousins
in LA.
Oh, in LA. I'm sorry. So yeah, Marcus Hall and Dwight Howard. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. So that worked. I don't.
Well, there's still
really,
Boogie too, because Boogie was on the Lakers, right?
Was he? I don't think he was.
I think he was for a short term.
It was this past year, right? And they didn't win. No, then he went. I don't know. But anyway, it can work. There's times where it can work. I don't think this works out. I mean, it's hard because you got to build around Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards is legit. He could be one of the best players in the league. Also, he was hilarious in Hustle. Go watch that movie.
I'm very sold on Anthony Edwards, but this is what I was going to kind of finish my point about that specific topic with.
Okay.
Anthony Edwards needs to now take that next step.
Yes.
Because
he's not getting any help from the organization, in my opinion.
Yeah, because the Timberwolves kind of made an unconventional trade. Not unconventional, but for firsts, not Ricky Rubio. Oh my God, how far back am I thinking? Pat Beverly,
yeah,
and then Malik Beasley. Say what you want, but Patrick Beverly, losing Pat Beverly, I don't like that.
I don't like it either.
You're gonna laugh at you.
I'm with you.
Oh, because in my opinion,
I love Pat Bev.
I'm not gonna say he was the heart and soul of the organization, because he wasn't. He was there for 1 year, but he was a locker room leader, and he was a man who really and truly propelled those players as kind of like that veteran presence. I think that especially as you're Minnesota, a team who was building really right and correctly, looking to ascend, you needed a guy like Pat Bev on your roster, and you got rid of him.
Yeah, I don't hate Pat Bev, but do I disagree with what he goes on First Take and says at 7 a.m? Yeah, I mean a little bit, but
first off, in regards to that, Will was trying to prove to his brother Brady that what I was saying was ridiculous, and he was like, "Look at this video, look at his video," and Brady Nick goes, "He didn't say anything outrageous."
Okay, but you and Brady are the same person. Come on.
Okay, we'll get everyone around next time.
All right, sure.
And we'll see how exactly outrageous what Pat Bev was.
It was just like it was. All right, it's not that it was outrageous. It's just like, oh, God, what is he saying? You know.
You were saying it was outrageous.
I don't think it was the right move for Pat Bev. But still, away from that, I think his presence in the locker room is massive. He's a defensive menace. Besides the one dirty play he had on Westbrook way back when Westbrook was in OKC and he was on Houston, I do like the guy. I think Pat Bev is a good player, and I feel like, you need a guy like him on every team. Mm-hmm. I say this about a lot of teams. You need a tough guy, and not a fake tough guy. You need a real tough guy.
Yeah, and that's
Marcus
what Pat
Smart.
Bev is.
Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler, you need it. You absolutely need it. PJ Tucker.
Like he had 2 of them. Yeah. Well, now Philly has 1. But, yeah, in my opinion, now this is kind of the cue for Anthony Edwards to take that next step, because he's an all-star. He is a complete all-star. I really like Anthony Edwards. But now, if you're going to take the unconventional route to success, which, again, can work, we don't really see Twin Towers in the league that much anymore, but when done correctly and if done properly, it can be absolutely unstoppable. It can be absolutely, like, no one will be able to beat them. Because not only can nobody get in the paint, but, yes, Rudy Gobert is a good perimeter defender, but Cat can definitely do it. So you do have a little bit of a weakness, but not a lot of teams are going to be scoring in the paint on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards, it is your time now to step up and be that true superstar. And listen, D'Angelo Russell, please let's not forget about D'Angelo Russell.
He's a good player,
too. He can be a major, major contributor to this team. I think he will be. Because he's a former All-Star in his own right. Let's not forget what D'Angelo Russell can do when he has his own team.
No, I remember the Brooklyn days.
That's what I'm saying.
But do you think that this trade makes Minnesota better? I don't think it does.
In the very short term, yes.
Okay.
In the short term, yes.
I can probably agree with that, yeah.
Yeah, in the short term,
I think
yes.
Maybe they go from like a 7 seed to maybe like a 4 or 5 seed.
I think their upside range could be a top
But I think
seed.
I don't think they make it out of the first or second round.
They make it out of the first round.
Do they?
They make it out the first round.
What if they see who's someone they get? Who are you thinking in the 7th seed?
I mean, they faced Golden State, correct, in the first round?
No.
Or was it?
They faced.
Was it Utah?
It was.
Or Memphis. It was Memphis. I'm sorry. They played Memphis extremely tough.
Yeah.
They played Memphis.
But you lost a lot of that toughness.
You did. You absolutely did. But you gain a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year.
Sure.
When you gain a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, it's hard to argue, man. I mean, think about it. It would be a massive overpay. But if an NFL team gave up 7 first-round picks for Aaron Donald, that team gets immediately better because they add an absolutely elite defender but you gave up 7 first-round picks.
It's tough.
Yeah. Say if the Patriots do it, they gave up Kyle Duggar. Say they gave up Christian Barmore, and they gave up Matthew Judon and 7 firsts for Aaron Donald. I don't think you'd be a big fan of that trade, right?
I would not. In the short run, sure, they got better. They got Aaron Donald, but
yeah.
For how long is he there?
And I'm not comparing Gobert to Aaron Donald. Let me just
Please
make that
don't.
clear. But hey, they're both
Yeah.
they're both 3-time Defensive Player of the Years. So real quick to kind of conclude here. So if you're Utah now, you now have this bevy of first-round picks, and you actually have some decent pieces that you could move to, because Malik Beasley is a walking bucket. Pat Bev is desirable to championship-winning teams. Do you now package at least those first-round picks to get somebody who is an all-star or even a superstar, if you could, or do you build through the draft? Because let me argue, I'll let you answer after this, but I'll kind of give a little argument here. In my opinion, if you're asking Donovan Mitchell to be a little too patient if you're building through the draft if you're Utah. That's my personal opinion, because
Sure.
I think that Donovan Mitchell, he's still young and he still can improve, believe it or not. But I think that you're asking him to wait a little too long and asking him to be a little too patient if your plan is to build through the draft like the Celtics did with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart.
Yeah, so my thing is, I agree. I think that you're asking him a little too much to wait around. And I'm a guy, we talked about it last time, I love homegrown teams. I think it's the way to go. But, I mean, I agree. I think you're waiting too long with Donovan Mitchell. He's been very loyal to Utah. He's played very well. Everyone in Utah loves Donovan Mitchell. Great player. I mean, with these first rounders, I think you do actually have to go out and get someone. I don't know who that could be, and maybe
What do you think about Dame? Dame
yeah,
and Dunn?
I mean
Dame and D.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good backcourt, but I mean, right now you have so many good pieces. Like, you'd have to give all of that for Dame. So, which I like Pat Bev. I think Pat Bev should stay on this team. I like him there. Yeah. So I guess you could have Dame, Donovan Mitchell. They just lost Joe Ingles. I don't even know if they're playing at the 3 anymore.
What about Anthony Davis? Because they got a.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Let's not forget. That's just something I forgot to mention. They got a first for Royce O'Neal too.
Yeah.
So they have now 5 first-round picks that they can unload. Does that put them in the Kevin Durant sweepstakes?
I don't think so. I doubt it. Not
5
for,
first-round picks.
Yeah.
And then you got Pat Bev. And
I think
Malik
Danny's
Beasley?
smarter than that, though. You know, this is the thing
Smarter-
with Danny H.
How unsmart are you if you pair KD and D Mitch?
Sure, but remember, we're talking about Danny Ainge here. How many times were we begging Danny Ainge to use these first-round picks, and he didn't?
He did. That's all he did. Towards the end, he hoarded firsts.
Oh, he hoarded them, but he didn't use them. That's my point. He had them, he didn't use them. So I feel like he's going to have them.
Do you mean unload them for a superstar by use them?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you meant use them, draft them.
No.
But let's not forget, he traded Al Jefferson for Kevin Garnett. Al Jefferson at the time was viewed as an ascending all-star player.
Yeah.
He was. And he got an MVP caliber player out of it. So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to there's no really Al Jefferson on the Utah Jazz, but, well, he was at one point. But there's no, like, Al Jefferson-like player or prospect on the Utah Jazz, but they can use those 5 first-round picks, and then if you could throw in whoever else you want in there besides D-Mitch.
Yeah, I agree. They need to go and get someone, but to an extent. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they should go get Kevin Durant. I'm trying to just think of guys who, you know, like, because I think Donovan Mitchell works well with a wing, which is a little, you know, contradicting myself because I just said I don't want them to get Kevin Durant. But I feel like he'd work really well. I know. I feel like he'd work well with a wing. I don't know who that would be, though. I don't. But who do you got a guy in mind?
What about Jimmy Butler?
Yeah, that would work.
What about Jimmy Butler?
Yeah, Jimmy Butler would work.
Or how about this? How about this? You trade not all your first-round picks, but maybe 1 or 2, and include those other players that you got. You get Jamal Murray.
It's not a bad one either.
You get Jamal Murray.
Yeah.
I'm huge on Jamal Murray.
Me too.
How about this?
I like him.
Brandon Ingram from New Orleans. I'm a big Brandon Ingram fan.
I don't know. I don't know about Brandon Ingram. I don't feel like he's all the way there yet.
I love Brandon Ingram.
Sure.
He's an all-star.
Yeah.
He's an all-star.
Yeah. Sure. So we'll throw Brandon Ingram in there. Well, I mean, there's not a lot of young like wings that can be traded. You know what I mean? There's not a whole lot out there right now, but
Yeah, there isn't. But
it's hard.
That's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, no, me too.
You satisfied, Will?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, but
did we get through everything? Wow, we powered through that real quick. We did.
But with all these talks about Kevin Durant being traded, they want the biggest trade in NBA history. But a lot of teams are kind of forgetting that somewhere out there in this league, there's one untouchable man. There's one untouchable player that even the likes of Kevin Durant isn't worthy of moving.
Absolutely not.
Can you think of his name?
I think I know it.
Ladies and gentlemen,
John Bro! Thanks, everyone. Remember to follow us on social media at Conti and Nick. And thank you again to MCM, Marshfield Community Media, who just rebranded. That's the big thing now. They just rebranded. So thank you to them for letting us use their amazing studio every Wednesday here. And, thank you. Peace.